You are welcome to another episode of LFN What's Your Say? The leading listening show where we discuss important issues with important people like you. We are again featuring R. Kelly. Real name Robert Sylvester Kelly. Also known as the R&B King. The New York appeal has been an icebreaker between the Department of Justice and the defense, who have been too far apart in thinking, especially when it comes to the interpretation of the laws in our statute. Attorney Jennifer Bonjean has made sure to leave no stone unturned while explaining the meaning of the term RICO enterprise, which because of the wording has confused many to believe that the trial court judge Ann Donnelly did make the right decision. Well, it now turns out she didn't, and thankfully now the whole world knows this. In fact, at the point in time, whoever risks speaking on the matter has to be careful not to twist the supreme law, which was always intended to put a stop to enterprises legally or not legally formed, which chose to engage in a common illegal purpose instead of sticking to the actual legal purpose it was formed for those that had a legal mandate to fulfill. We now know that in fact the government has been playing a tactical game to have R. Kelly serve an undeserved sentence of 30 years by packaging bad acts into more serious charges such as the RICO and Mann Act. Thankfully, attorney Jennifer Bonjean has been able to challenge these false charges, which should never have even made their way to R. Kelly's charge sheet. Also among these are the forced labor charges, which are also inappropriate, considering they are being charged against a one-time incident both with Geronda Pace and Faith Rogers. While one appeal judge still seems a little confused and unsure of what proving the RICO theory entailed, the entire panel of New York appeal judges appears to be certain when it comes to this and the other charges. The Mann Act charges in relation to Faith Rogers and Azriel Clary simply failed to make sense even to the appeal judges, who do not see any sinister motive for him to be transporting women from Chicago to another state where the act is equally punishable. In fact, one judge did raise this question to the state attorney during the appeal hearing, leaving her baffled and out of what to say. An analysis of what transpired at the New York appeal gives reason to expect a straight win for defendant R. Kelly on the Mann Act and forced labor charges, and when it comes to the RICO charges, that particular judge who still thinks a RICO enterprise can simply be an organization with a criminal in it will need time to reflect on his own opinion before another landslide win is guaranteed. As of now, we can only depend on the involvement of the other two judges, who seem to have understood Bonjean's explanation to dominate the third judge and force a decision that favors defendant R. Kelly. Or otherwise hope that even the third judge, who was so inquisitive, can also change his opinion of things and understand that you cannot have a RICO enterprise where only one man is responsible for all the crimes orchestrated, and therefore without a mutual illegal purpose. On a case-by-case basis, just to be clear with what actually transpired, when it came to the RICO charges, Bonjean's argument is that the government did not prove an illegal enterprise theory, and she is right. She also insists that the same government was obligated to prove a common illegal purpose of the enterprise, even though this was not mentioned in the jury instructions. Even when the inquisitive judge mentioned that proving the RICO theory was not part of the jury instructions, Bonjean explained this, suggesting the jury instruction does not have to be as detailed as to remind the government on what they must prove to justify their own charges. She goes on to refer to a previous case as an example, where similarly no detail of the sort was mentioned in the jury instructions, but a common illegal purpose remained an important part of the government's obligations.
Well, I guess I'm trying to understand, are you challenging the jury instruction, which didn't say that the RICO enterprise had to have an illegal purpose?
No, Your Honor, I'm not challenging the jury instruction, nor could the jury instruction be challenged. The jury instruction is entirely consistent with United States versus Boyle. In fact, it's almost word for word the same jury instruction. And in Boyle, as this court may recall, where the enterprise or the instruction was challenged, even though it wasn't set out with specificity what the structure of the enterprise should be, the Boyle court said that's fine. It doesn't have to be. The jury doesn't have to be instructed with that level of specificity. In this case,
but you're arguing, it seems to me, that absent an illegal purpose, there can be no RICO enterprise.
Yes, because it would make nonsense of the statute.
With no proof of a common illegal purpose that would prove that in fact R. Kelly's music business management team of employees were rooted in crime as a conjunctive, RICO charges cannot apply. The Mann Act claim just didn't register any motive by defendant to be transporting alleged victims from one state where the act of exposing someone to an STD without their consent is illegal to another where the same was actually true at the time. And besides, when asked by the appeal judge how the government was able to prove that in fact these women were not in the know to consent with R. Kelly before the exposure if any, she was out of an answer and instead kept beating around the bush. Out of answers she eventually caved in and admitted that the trial judge's ruling was based on inference and not evidence. This is because the trial judge knew well that R. Kelly was largely not guilty of violating the white slavery law, and that in fact the government was only looking to frame R. Kelly and keep him in prison for the rest of his life. But she went along with the game herself to issue a judgment based entirely on nothing else but inference. On the matter of forced labor, the appeal court offered no room for the state attorney to fool around like she had been doing most of the time. The rather inquisitive judge did ask her where is the labor, and guess what? She started mentioning that Geronda Pace was writing letters on behalf of R. Kelly for free, and a very laughable response. When told that wouldn't hold, she added working on a website before zeroing down to one-time sexual relations which she wants the world to believe happened and that this was forced labor. In fact, one of the judges was skeptical and suggested the state attorney was laborizing sexual instances and this could cause defendant to be receiving completely different consequences than he should be having to deal with. In a way, this meant that the appeal court is in fact dissatisfied with the way government was ready to use any record of sexual relation to justify forced labor, and guess what? This will eventually be dropped once the facts are properly reviewed. In her rebuttal, Attorney Jennifer Bonjean did not waste much time speaking on the weak forced labor charges, and simply reminded court that these were based on single sexual acts, which is not proper and completely disqualifies the charges. Also hard to understand is why sex in our country has been categorized as labor in a move that will likely encourage young girls out there to turn to prostitution as a job instead of making families. And by the government insisting the sex rendered was forced labor, they are indirectly referring to these accusers as prostitutes. Meanwhile, this new way to look at the accusers could mean a complete shift of dynamics for the entire case against R. Kelly in his favor, as we shall be detailing in our coming video productions. If you wish to take part in a live interview discussing any of these topics, let us know by sending an email to sashalfnmedia@gmail.com for scheduling. Thank you for watching today's video, a production of LFN Media, giving you another perspective of issues at hand. We make it our business to keep you updated with the truth amidst the cloud of lies the media wants you to believe. It is therefore important to subscribe to this channel, hit the bell icon and allow all notifications so that you don't miss out whenever we publish a new video.